we've got a rematch of last year's Rose Bowl college football playoff semifinal, but this year, the stakes are not nearly as high. It's number 11 Alabama in a disappointing first year under Kalen DeBoer, taking on the reigning national champions in Michigan, coming in at just 7-5 in the ReliaQuest Bowl. So, who's going to be more motivated for this game? Who's going to find a way to end their year on a high with a little bit of momentum into 2025? And that's what we're here to answer today. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. So glad you could join us. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of those expert picks, home to our holiday special, giving you all of our college football bowl game spread picks and all of our NFL picks for the rest of the year, all the way through the Super Bowl in February. So do not miss out on that. We'd love for you to become a member of our GE Nation. But you take a look at this ReliaQuest Bowl, it's really interesting. A number 11 team in the country facing an unranked reigning national champion at 7-5. It feels like a bit of a mismatch here, but you look at the seasons for both Alabama and Michigan compared to what we saw from last year. It was disappointing for both. Alabama, their first year without Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer comes in, they go 9-3, which for many teams across the country is a fantastic year. But the Crimson Tide, no, it's not good enough. The expectation is national titles. The expectation is to make the college football playoff, and they just missed out. Had they not lost to Oklahoma towards the end of the year, they would have been in, and who knows where they'd be right now in this 12-team field. Michigan, on the other hand, 7-5, reigning national champions. They go 7-5, but they did end the year on a high with a upset, massive upset, we should add, over Ohio State on the road. So a big win for Michigan there. Maybe that's enough to propel them to one more upset over Alabama in this bowl game. We take a look at the offense, though. We'll start with the Crimson Tide. It's looking like Jalen Milroe is going to play. We expect him to play in this game, and that's massive. That's massive. Again, a game that for Alabama probably doesn't mean too much. A game for Alabama that's disappointing to be here, disappointing results on the year, and their star quarterback is choosing to play in this game. A guy who threw for over 2,600 yards, 15 touchdowns, and is the leading rusher for the Crimson Tide, over 700 yards and 20 rushing touchdowns. Unbelievable. 422 yards on the year per game for Alabama, 240 of those coming through the air, 182 on the ground. So this is a very balanced Crimson Tide offense. This is a very balanced Crimson Tide offense, and they're going to have to maintain that. They're going to have to maintain that against what's a very strong Michigan defense, which we'll get to in a second. But there's two things that I'm watching out for Alabama entering this game. And we're not going to mention motivation for either of them, right? Motivation, could be tough for both programs at this point. But we're not talking about that. The first thing I'm looking at for Alabama is outside of Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, both their top two wide receivers, they don't have a lot of depth there, whether it's because of transfers or opt-outs or injuries. Alabama is very thin in the pass-catching core. Williams has been a freshman phenom, really, over 850 reception yards and 8 touchdowns. But outside of those two players, who steps up for Alabama when it comes to pass catching? Who steps up to assist Jalen Milroe in this game? Number two, they've got to be able to run the football effectively, namely with Jalen Milroe. Make sure he can, pick up those first downs with his legs. Make sure he remains a dual threat capability in this game. And they've got to take care of the football. In Alabama's 3 losses this year, they never rushed for more than 89 yards. They never had a 100-yard rushing game in the 3 losses that they had, and they committed 7 turnovers in those 3 games combined. So you've got to run the ball effectively. You've got to hold on to the ball. If you're unable to do that, you're opening a lot of doors and opportunities for Michigan to hang around and maybe win this game, just like Ohio State did just about a month ago. Michigan, on the other hand, they're terrible. They're terrible offensively. 128th in the nation. Their average is 294 total yards per game. That's really, really bad. They average just 133 passing yards per game. Really, really bad. 22.3 points per game. But the running game, that's the key for them, right? They average over 160 rushing yards per game. That's what they want to do. That's what they've been doing. That's what they've tried to do in just about every game. They've lost a handful, as we know, but it's what helped them beat Ohio State. It's what kept them in the game against Indiana, only losing that game by 5. They had 172 rushing yards against the Buckeyes. One of the best defenses in the country, they torched them for almost 200 rushing yards. But here's the thing. If you can't run the ball, you're not going to win the game. In their 5 losses this year, Michigan's 5 losses this year, they were held to under 115 rushing yards in 4 of those 5 games. They were held to under 100 rushing yards in 2 of the 5 losses. So if they can't run, they don't stand a chance. Donovan Edwards is not playing in this game, number 2 rusher on the team, nearly 600 rushing yards on the year. And now their top pass catcher, their tight end, Colston Loveland, is also not playing in this game. Had over almost 600 reception yards and 5 touchdowns as a tight end. We know Davis Warren is not that great of a quarterback. Over 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. They've been playing musical chairs at quarterback all year long. Settled on Warren, probably the best option they've got. Kalel Mullings has been fine at running back, nearly 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns on the year. But is it going to be enough to face and beat this Alabama defense? So Michigan is practically already one-dimensional. Sometimes we talk about on these videos, find a way to make them one-dimensional. They are one-dimensional. Michigan is one-dimensional, which makes Alabama's job a lot easier. That makes them a lot easier. The problem is the Crimson Tide are down quite a bit of starters. They're going to be down their cornerback, Devontae Smith. They're going to be down their linebacker, Deontay Lawson. They're going to be down their safety, Keon Sabb, and their safety, Malachi Moore. They're going to be down quite a bit. So those last 3 players I just mentioned, though, are not opting out. They're not transferring out. They're out due to injury. So a little more grace there. Regardless, though, Alabama still has the 31st ranked defense in the country, allowing just 330.9 total yards per game. They average 191.2 passing yards per game allowed and about 140 rushing yards per game allowed. And right there, that key number, it's 139.8. That's the number you're looking at if you're Alabama. That's the number you got to focus on across the board. I'm not worried about the passing game. Michigan is not all of a sudden going to wake up and torch this Alabama secondary. It's not going to happen. They haven't done it all year long. It's not going to happen now. They might have a couple big plays here and there, but that's not how they're going to win this game. They're going to win it. They're going to win it like the military academies do. Ground and pound, long, methodical drives, milking the clock, and then converting. That's how Michigan wins. That's how they're going to do it. If Alabama can't stop that, they're in trouble. If they do, they're going to get a lot of opportunities on offense, and it's going to lead to a big Crimson Tide victory. 139.8 rushing yards per game. That's what they're allowing. Focus on the run. But the problem is, Alabama has struggled against the run this year, and their 3 losses. In their 3 losses this year, they allowed at least 166 rushing yards in all 3 of them. That includes 217 to Tennessee, 257 in their loss to Oklahoma. That's bad news. But if I'm Kalen DeBoer, I'm Alabama, I'm coming in here, I'm stacking the box, and I'm daring Michigan to throw the ball. Stacking the box saying, you will not run on us. And you know what? We're willing to give up a 10, 15-yard completion every now and then. Go ahead, throw the ball. We have no faith in Davis Warren whatsoever. We have no faith on any quarterback on the Michigan roster whatsoever. So go ahead, throw it. But you will not, under any circumstances, run the ball on us. That's what I'm doing if I'm Alabama. Michigan. Now, they've got a pretty good defense. Michigan's got a good defense. That's what helped them beat Ohio State. It wasn't their offense. It was their defense. They're 13th in the nation, allowing just 310.9 yards per game. They're 68th versus the pass, but they're 4th against the run. They only allow 92.6 rushing yards per game. The million-dollar question is, can they contain Jalen Milroe? That's what you have to ask yourself. Can they contain Jalen Milroe? If he is allowed to run free over and over and over again, they can't get pressure on him, and they're allowing him to pick up those first downs, allowing him to pick up chunk yardage plays or just with his legs, Michigan's in trouble. And he is the most mobile quarterback they've faced all year. Let's be honest here. Jalen Milroe is the most mobile dual-threat quarterback Michigan's defense has faced all year. So it's going to be a little bit different for them. This is not Ohio State. This is not Indiana. This is not some of the better teams they played. This isn't even Texas back in week 2. This is a completely different team, a completely different style of offense that Michigan has seen all year long. And it doesn't help that the Wolverines are going to be without some of their best players in this game. Their defensive tackle, Mason Graham, their defensive end, Hosea Stewart, cornerback, Will Johnson, and most likely their defensive tackle, Kenneth Grant. Those players combining for 15 of the 31 sacks that Michigan has posted this year. So nearly half of the sacks that Michigan has posted are going to be gone. And the majority of those guys up front, in the front 7, on the defensive line. And that's not good when you're trying to stop the run. Some of your best run stoppers are now out of the game, opening up more doors for not just Alabama's running backs, for also Jalen Milroe to make some big plays. The biggest thing Michigan has to do in this game, if they want to find a way to win, is not just controlling the clock on offense, not running the ball effectively, but forcing Alabama into mistakes. They have forced 15 turnovers this year. 11 of those have been interceptions. Milroe has had issues with ball security so far this year, has had issues at times with pocket awareness this year, despite how mobile he can be. So if you're Michigan, force them into interceptions, force them into turnovers. You did that against Ohio State. Do it one more time against Alabama. That's how you win. That's how you win. You force some turnovers, make offense from defense into offense, and then milk the clock so that Jalen Milroe doesn't have that many opportunities to torch you or to get in the end zone. This is an interesting game. I love rematches. I love that we're seeing these two teams meet off for the second year in a row. Obviously, the stakes are not nearly as high. The crowd will not be nearly as great. The game probably will not be nearly as good as what we saw last year in the playoff semifinal. It was absolutely phenomenal. But it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one. But at the end of the day, there's no way I'm going against Alabama in this game. Alabama is... You could talk about motivation. You could say, are they going to be ready for this game? Are they going to be excited for this game? Are they going to want to win this game? So many things you could ask entering the ReliaQuest Bowl. But I like the Crimson Tide a lot. I like them a lot here. Their offense is significantly better than that of Michigan's. We know that. I have faith in their defense. I don't think Michigan's going to be able to throw the ball. I do believe they're going to stack the box. The Wolverines struggled to score. Even against Ohio State, only mustered 13 points in that upset. So I think the Crimson Tide start off slow. I think Michigan hangs around a little bit, and then somehow, some way, the floodgates open. The Crimson Tide busted open. They win this game by at least 10 points and clinch a 10-win season. Another double-digit win season. A double-digit win season in Kalen DeBoer's first year at the program. Not the way they wanted to do it. They much rather would have gotten to the college football playoff, but they do end the year with some momentum and hope to bounce back in a big way next year, while Michigan certainly has a lot of questions they've got to answer, especially on the offensive side of the ball as they enter a big 2025 season. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to those expert picks and that holiday special. Do not miss out on that. We want you to win big with us and become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.